Day 91 of a screenwriter's journey. Yesterday, I sort of teased in a way that that could be the end, but you knew it wasn't. Let's face it. So it looks like today I am starting back on yet another rewrite. No, I think this is just going to be some little tweakage here. Let's see. This is 9/2. So this is September 2nd. Ooh, I'm within a month because today is September 29th. This is probably the last day I wrote before I went on a 4 day excursion. And I will have some comments on that as they relate to the script when I returned from that excursion. Um, so, yesterday, as we recall, I pretty much finished it. Did I mention day 91? I think I did. And so it looks like I'm going through today and just doing a little minor touch up. It's just crazy how I've mentioned this before, but um, you just can go through a script over and over and over and over, and still either A, you find typos or grammatical errors or things that have to be changed, and then you just say, oh, I should word that differently. And again, in terms of action and description, you reword stuff. And when you're not substantially changing it, you're just really doing it for semantic purposes. In this case, it looks like I'm just shortening things up a little bit whenever possible. And I talk about that a lot going through. And even, it's funny, even I'll go through and if I see something that's like 3 lines of description, I'll say, I wonder if I can make that 2 or 4 or 5 lines of dialogue. Um, Sometimes I will say, I wonder how else I could say that. I changed this up a little because that, I don't know, that $50 thing or that whatever, I don't think it really, what I tell you, it was never a yes. So I'm kind of just playing around with some of this little stuff, trying to, now that I know the characters better, having spent 90 days with them, plus because these are only writing days, obviously I'm working on it at other times. So I'm just saying, is that how so and so would say it, or would they or she or he really say that? So I'm tweaking this a little bit. Nothing of substance, but it is crazy how I change things, and I'm sure how everyone does. And if you look at, I'm just looking as I go through quickly at my amount of white space, which of course is a result of having only 1 and 2 lines in the action description slash the dialogue. I would say I'd have to go and through and look, but in terms of action and description, I'd say 90% of what I write is 1 or 2 lines. And again, that's not to say that's how you should do it. However, that is how you should do it. No, I mean, any of these you see, I could easily make it into one block of text, but I always think in terms of shots and what's going on. If it's just like a paragraph when you're writing, obviously, except a lot shorter. And I would say the vast majority of my dialogue is probably 1 or 2 lines. Certainly there's some like breaks where it's beat or something like it says it dawns on her or realizes. But I believe, as I've said, if I've got something that's 4 lines long, I consider that on the long side. And you pick notice. I'm trying to think. I would guess that one line of dialogue, like I'm on the other line with Washington. That's what, 2 or 3 seconds. Um, I guess it might even be less than that. I don't know. Just trying to figure out like a 4 line, if that's like a 10-second bit of dialogue. Should I go get the ice? Ice cream. I think I changed something up maybe in the ice cream on this draft because I realized we set it up, we meaning me, set it up when Lexi was little that she liked ice cream. And so now I don't think, so now I'm changing it again. So it's funny again how I just go back and I change stuff. So after you subscribe and like and share, leave any comments you like. I honestly, I admit I have not gone into my YouTube and looked to see if there's any comments, but I don't think there are any. Just thinking. I'm getting like, I think one of the videos has 10 or 12 views, maybe 15. Some of them have 2 or 3, but that's fine. It'll catch on, especially when I start marketing to colleges and universities. Cone in her mouth. So, yeah, so that ice cream thing is sort of the bookend. It's not that big of a deal that you would like save it till the very end. So don't expect me to. Okay. It's funny how sometimes things just hit you and you go, I think I'm going to fix that. Even that, like I took out the parenthetical information, but basically replaced it with a little bit of action/description. And usually, I guess I would do that if the parenthetical broke over 2 lines or if it felt like something more than just, as it says, parenthetical information. Some people really overdo it and they actually, you could say as she exits or something like that if it's in the middle of talking, but some people really overdo it and that's not good. I generally, I would say the less the better. All right, so beg me to go easy on you. So as you can see, and I've mentioned before, Larry, kind of the jokester, keeping things light, although at a certain point that changed a little. Gary, much more serious, a little harder edge. He, as I said, kind of has his character arc. Abby, I've asked before, but I would be interested to know if anyone has got a take on Abby or Lexi for that matter. I think Lexi is probably a little more well-defined. Hopefully Holly is the most. And right down the line, Rachel, Paul, Hogan, Salerno. Salerno doesn't really have a character arc. He's in it for 10 minutes? I did mention, I think, somewhere, when I set this up for Movie Magic Screenwriter to audibly read, I don't know if Final Draft has that also. You can set up names and, they're very computerized, synthesized, but still, it's a helpful thing. But it was amazing how few characters have dialogue in this. And, there's a few that are in it that don't talk, like the thug, I don't think he talks. And like the militia guys or whatever I call them. But most, a lot of my scripts, even though they don't have a lot of characters, they certainly have more than this. And I know I purposely have kept it to a minimum, but I was surprised how few they are, which is a good thing for budgetary reasons and character building reasons. Character as in not building my character, but character development reasons. So I'm just doing a little trimming. As you see, obviously this is sped up by a factor of 5, but still I'm on page 32 already. So my intent, I don't know if I read this with the intent of even changing anything if I didn't like it, or if I was just literally kind of whizzing through it and trying to beautify it a little bit. I also had at one point I had Paul Atwell and then Adwell, and I looked them up in both spellings. Not that one's correct and incorrect, but people do have both names. And I'm not sure which one I will settle on. Not important, of course, but it's amazing how you can get caught up in stuff that is like so minor. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've spent 5 minutes trying to name, the last name of a character who's only talked about by his first name. And actually, Abby, I don't know. I have my Ripple script, the main lady in that is Abby, and I don't know why. I think partly, frankly, because it's 4 letters and I like short names. If you have a better name, let me know. Searching. What am I searching for? Okay, we're back here. Page 38. Oh, yeah. I realize that that's the wrong person. Never mind, I meant September 2nd. I'm just thinking, I think this was a Thursday. I think. September 9th, 16th, 23rd, 30th. Yeah, this was a Thursday. Right before I left on my little excursion. I was gone. Well, you don't care. So this is... All right, I'll tell you right now. The reason I was doing this, and now I remember the reason I'm sort of going fast and not really making any substantial changes, is that we were driving up to northern Michigan, which is like a 3 and a bit hour drive. And my sons, the actors that are going to play Gary and Larry, came home, and we all went up there and met one of their other brothers, one of my other sons. And I had sort of mostly seriously told them, hey, maybe you could read the script on the way up to see what you think about it. Read it out loud. And so I did this in the morning while they were sleeping or whatever. And then... we took it up and I put a PDF on my iPad, and then they read it out loud on the way up. And it was interesting, and I'll tell you the results of the read on our next episode, which are quite revealing. But it was interesting. One of them started reading it and read maybe 8 pages, and then he would give it to the other, and he would read it. And, they were reading the action description and then all the dialogue. But what they did, which I have never heard of, and I don't know if this is standard a table read, obviously you've got multiple people reading it. But for about 95% of the time, they did not read the character name before reading the dialogue. So, for instance, the page that we're on right now, 41. I hear you're headed home. Intercut. Gary and Abby share a look. Abby shakes her head. Under protest, what do you want? Holly debates her next words for a long moment. Remember that little airstrip we passed on the way in? Vaguely. So, and they wouldn't specify, like in that case, if it was Gary or Abby answering. And so it was interesting to hear it that way. I'd never heard that before. I wasn't very confused because obviously I was the one who wrote it, so I knew who was saying what, but the person who was just listening wouldn't have known. And I forgot what they said, something about you should pretty much always know it by the context of the script or the story. So that was interesting, I guess. It speeds up the read. They were reading it really fast, but that was interesting. So that's what's going on here. I remember early on when I saw that unmutes her phone, I would have the old days you had a phone receiver and they would smother the ear or the mouthpiece with their hand. And I found myself writing, covering up the microphone. And then I realized that most people will just mute their phones these days. Thank you, technology. See how I wrote, this is very, very, very key. See how I had 25 in numbers and I wrote it out in letters, Do you know why I did that and why you should do that? Anyone? Anyone? Because it gives a truer reflection of how long it takes to say it. And that is very important because it gives you a truer indication of the length of the script, how many minutes. So for instance, although having said that, like if I say it was the year 1963, I don't think I would write out 1963, but you really should, because if you think of it, if someone was listing off a bunch of numbers in a dialogue and you just wrote the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you could probably write that in, 2 lines, 1 comma, 2 comma. But if you write them out, ONE, TWO, etc., that's going to take a lot longer and be a lot more accurate. So, it's not like it's a hard and fast rule, but I did read that somewhere a long time ago, and I've always tried to stick to it, other than, as I mentioned, like with a year or something, or, it's 7:45 in the morning. It's always better to write that out in dialogue. Obviously, in the action and description, it's not important. In fact, it would look weird if you did. Okay. Oh, Larry's standing there in shock. Tisk, tisk. I probably didn't. As you see, I'm unfortunately, which may come back to haunt me, I'm not really going through for typos and grammar and little whoops. I'm going through for cleaning up a little dialogue and stuff. Yeah, I kind of remember going through this pretty fast because I knew, obviously, I talk about a deadline. I had actors that needed to read it. It's funny that as I go through this, what catches my eye? We believe. Wow. It's funny what catches your eye, and then again, is it the domino effect where you change one thing and you go, oh my gosh, we got to change all this other stuff? By then, we'll have 28. Looks like I copy and paste that from somewhere else. I'm not sure where. I really like when Holly says her name's Lexi. Humanizes her. Okay. I'm just, charging through this. So what did they expect? And just tightening. The less wordy the dialogue, the better. As I've said, there's, in the English language, which is my primary and, let's face it, only language other than Einbischen Deutsch, very Einbischen. There's so many ways to say the same thing, and there's so many wordy ways to say it. What are you going to do today? What are you doing today? Bad example. But the point is, some people write very wordy dialogue and they go, well, that's the way I talk in real life, or that's what the conversation was that I overheard in the diner, so I'm going to write like I hear. But to me, I think it's a good way to have sort of an ear for the flow of conversation. But in terms of the words, I don't really think that is the absolute best. I'd have to really do a study of one of the pros at dialogue writing, like good old Aaron Sorkin, who, man, talk. That would be interesting to see, just to see if it's literally pages and pages of just dialogue, and because it seems like even they have a lot of overlapping dialogue and stuff. So as I said, in this version, Noble and Holly are a little more not so antagonistic, which I think is fine because it's sort of a cliche to have the upstart person and then the boss, and then the upstart person shows him up or shows her up. I just had a comma there. I mean, but think of the difference of that. Oh, yeah. Or, oh, yeah. Oh, Gary does use honestly. I wonder if I'm going to take that out. As you recall, there was a little discussion between Ace and Rachel about that, and Alexa, Lexi. I'm still waiting for you not to mix. Oh, thank goodness. I took that out, that mixing metaphors. I thought I had gotten rid of that earlier. What if neither? What if none? If only one does, I've improved. What if none do? Neither, I think, is right? Because there's two of them, neither nor, either or. Yeah, the wording on that, I need one vehicle to drive the passengers. He's saying I need a vehicle to drive one of the passengers, as in I'm going to drive it, not like I need one of the vehicle drivers to drive them. Still a little confusing even as I read it now. I need 30 seconds. So, yeah, this part with Holly being injured, I guess I've written it a couple times. I've gone through it. So it's and generally action/description, I don't say I wouldn't pay as much attention to it, but as long as you're getting the gist of it across, I think it definitely takes less time to fiddle with than dialogue. This scene on 81 is about his pure exposition. Where are you? There's the answer. 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 Not completely, but again, at this point in the script, we're breaking into 3 here, and I think it's got to go, go, go. I'm doing the it's some classical song. Wasn't that on Bugs Bunny or something? That Venice, why does that sound familiar? Okay, that is a better line. I didn't change anything else there. Rachel's is a little clunky, maybe. Maybe not. You sure that airport you found? Abby nods. Whoop. Huh, I guess I didn't really need that, did I? I hope not, because I took out the mention of the airport. I must have it earlier. So, yeah, I did a little bit of housekeeping there. And then obviously I need to change that. Never forget when you change. Oh, I didn't quite make it through. That's weird. Huh. Unless, well, I'll have to see. Anyways, day 91, which is basically kind of breezing through, as you saw, to clean things up. In the bag. Frankly, my dear, there are not many days left. For now, I shouldn't really say that because there could be another 100 days for all I know. I know you just made a big groan, but that's all right. I'll end it here. See you tomorrow. Screenwriter's Journey, au revoir, or I should say, auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen? No, auf Wiedersehen.